All right, this is Math 103, final exam review, starting with number 61. And this is coming from chapter 6, where you have to use formulas. So they give you a formula here that says S is equal to 2 parentheses X plus 12, where S is the size in Italy and X is the size in the United States. And so we want to know what the US size for a woman's shoe when the Italian size is 40. So we are going to substitute 40 in for S, 2 parentheses X plus 12. And we're going to have to use the distributive property. So we're going to take 2 times X plus 2 times 12, and we get 2X plus 24. Now we're going to solve for X by subtracting 24 from both sides. And so that gives me 16 is equal to 2X. And then we divide by 2, and that tells us that X is 8. When we get to proportions, we are going to have to remember that we're going to have to cross multiply. And so when we cross multiply, we have to take this number times the entire numerator and this number times this entire numerator. So I like to write it out. 7 times y plus 6 is equal to 5 times y plus 8. Then I'm going to have to use the distributive property on both sides. 7y plus 42 is equal to 5y plus 40. Then I'm going to move a variable from one side to the other by subtracting 5y. And so that gives me 2y plus 42 is equal to 40. And then I'm going to subtract 42 so that I get 2y is equal to negative 2. And last but not least, I'm going to come over here so you guys can see. So I have 2y is equal to negative 2. I'm going to divide by 2. And so y is equal to negative 1. Now, when we're writing up word problems for proportions, the thing I told you that you should do is write the things that you're comparing in words first. So you're comparing completed passes over attempted passes. And then you're going to fill in your ratio. So the first ratio is given to you as 9 out of 10. Every 10 attempts, 9 passes were completed. Then if he attempts 40, that's going to go in the bottom. We want to know how many he's going to complete. And so here, because I just have numbers and that missing variable, I am going to multiply 9 times 40 and then divide by 10. And so that's going to tell me that theoretically he will complete 36 passes. Now, this next one is a little bit tricky because it's given to us in miles per hour. Okay, that's what we're comparing, but we want to know how far he travels in 24 minutes. So the first ratio that we're going to write is going to be 95 miles in 1 hour or 60 minutes. And then we want to know how far has he driven in 24 minutes. So we take 95 times 24 and divide it by 60. So everything has to be in the same unit. So when I multiply these out and then divide by 60, I am going to get 38 miles. Okay? All right, so now we're going to be translating words into an equation, and then we're going to solve it. So we're going to let, it says let x represent the number. So a number decreased by 208 is equal to 548. So that's just a pretty basic equation, and now we're going to solve it by adding 208 to both sides. And so we get 7 56. Now, when we're talking about graphing inequalities, one thing that you have to remember is that you need to know the definition of open circles are going to be less than or greater than, and closed circles are going to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So we always want to get our variable on the left-hand side, and then our numbers on the right-hand side. So I'm going to erase this open and closed circle stuff so that I have room to work. And I've got negative 4x minus 12 greater than or equal to negative 5x minus 13. So I am going to move over the variable first by adding 5x to both sides. That gives me 1x minus 12 is greater than or equal to negative 13. And then I'm going to add 12. And so x is greater than or equal to negative 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and label negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a closed circle, so I'm going to put a closed circle on negative 1, and then we are pointing in the right direction, so I will shade in the right direction. Now, one of the things you have to remember is that when you divide by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So this becomes x is less than or equal to negative 2. So less than or equal to is a closed circle. And then we are now pointing to the left, so we will shade to the left. And then last but not least, we've got this one where we've got to distribute. So when I distribute, I'm going to get negative 15x minus 15 less than or equal to negative 12x minus 36. I am going to add 12x, and so that gives me negative 3x minus 15 less than or equal to negative 36. And then I'm going to add 15 so that I get negative 3x is less than or equal to, and negative 36 plus 15 is negative 21. And so now I'm going to divide by negative 3, and that tells me that I have to reverse that sign so that I get x is greater than or equal to positive 7. And so I'm just going to put a 7 here, and you can number as needed. It again is a closed circle on 7, and we are pointing in the right, so we will shade in the right. So that finishes up chapter 6. The next video will take us into chapter 7.